Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. My name's Harry and I'm a third year paramedic student studying at Victoria University in Australia. I'm also currently undergoing the application process to really hopefully get into medicine next year. Alright, so today I'm here to give you guys a rundown about what I did in preparation for the Section 2 essay in the Gamsat and how you guys can implement these techniques to actually perform at your absolute best when you sit it and write the best essays possible. Let's get into it. So both times I sat the Gamsat, Section 2 was actually my highest scoring section both times. So I've made this video to kind of outline the 4 key categories that I think are essential for writing the best essays that you possibly can. So the 4 key categories are what most people do wrong, what I believe Acer is looking for in successful essays, how to practice and get feedback, and also my structure and how I outlined every single essay I practiced and all essays that I wrote in the test. Naturally, I think it's pretty fair to say that for Section 2, most people get a little worried about the vast amount of topics that they can be tested on. So therefore, they get overwhelmed and stressed with the sheer knowledge of facts and historical events required to create engaging and coherent arguments and points when they write the essays themselves. So what do people do? They attempt to learn as many historical events and quotes from as many different people as possible within like the last 200 years of human civilization. I'm not saying that this is a bad way to prepare for the test. If you've done this your whole life and you've got a tried and true method and it works for you and you understand the concept and the flow of it all, then go for it. Don't change up what you're doing just because some stranger on the internet thinks that they have a better way to tackle it. I'm just saying that this way works best for me, and I think it's perhaps a better way to study for it as it actually frees up more time to focus on actually writing essays, which is what you want to be doing most of your time, as opposed to researching events and quotes and famous people and famous historical events or whatever that have occurred, as well as also trying to learn and grasp your science and perhaps new vocab and terms for Section 1 as well. Not to mention that most of the knowledge that you actually accrue for the essays becomes redundant when you see the topic because you realize that it doesn't actually apply. So all I'm saying is that I feel like this is definitely a much more higher yield way of preparing for it. Before using this structure, I think it's really important to actually understand what Acer are looking for in a good essay. Now, not to say that I know their rubric or I'm some crazy guru that's figured out the algorithm to their marking your essays, but I think I have a pretty good grasp on what they're looking for and what actually makes a good essay in their eyes. And so basically I have formatted it down into the 3 tiers of a successful Gamsat essay. So that's tier 1 down the bottom, which is addressing a topic. That's it. Then there's tier 2 in the middle here, which is breaking down a topic and addressing it to a societal issue. And then tier 3, the top big daddy, which is breaking down a societal issue even further, explaining how it affects us, and then addressing both sides of the argument to derive a conclusion. So to give you guys an example, let's open up with a topic. So let's say this topic is riches. So if we're starting with a tier 1 essay, addressing that topic as a tier 1 essay, our contention would be something, say, let's talk about being rich. And then we would move into paragraph 1. And paragraph 1 would be everybody wants to be rich, and you would define rich as having lots of money. And then you go into paragraph 2. And paragraph 2 would be like, it's hard to be rich, therefore we have to work heaps in our lives to attain this money and be rich. And then paragraph 3, you then mention, well, this results in people working too much and this isn't good for people's life satisfaction. And that would be a tier 1 essay. And do you see how that's really baseline level? It doesn't really break it down. It simply just speaks about what's the obvious topic that stands out in front of you. So then if we move into tier 2 essay. So a tier 2 essay would then start to, using the same topic, it would then start to break down the topic as a societal issue, as well as introducing a bit of a stance. So say for paragraph 1, we would say everybody wants to be rich, and then we would then define rich as having lots of money again. We would then introduce paragraph 2, which is your societal issue that you believe. So it would be something like, I believe people work too hard for their lives, and therefore this is decreasing their life overall satisfaction. And then you would try and introduce that solution in paragraph 3. Would be like, I think that the work week should be reduced to 4 days a week instead of 5 to allow people more freedom in their lives to get out and about and achieve the things that they want to achieve outside of their work life. So you see how that kind of then breaks it down to a societal issue as it is, and then also introduces a solution and a bit more of a point, and it breaks down the topic a little bit more and a bit more of an understanding. And now tier 3 would be where the big bucks happen, is where you really break down that deep societal issue. It's where you acknowledge true understanding, and then you can see that there's deep thought gone into the topic, as well as discussion and insight on both sides with a solution. So say paragraph 1 would be, you would define riches, but you would define riches as something abstract. So you would say, you define riches as happiness. So being rich is being happy, whereas being poor is not having those same levels of happiness. And then paragraph 2 would be introducing the point that you are going to counter in paragraph 3. So it would say, paragraph 2 would be, say, mention how working brings in money, and by building this wealth you also increase happiness, because if you have more money you can buy more things and do more things, therefore bring more happiness in your life. And then you go into paragraph 3, which completely and absolutely destroys this point and burns it into the ground, in where you completely counter it and say something like, well, people wouldn't have to follow this 9 to 5 daily cycle of, constant work if they were internally happy and genuinely accepting of themselves from within. And this, acceptance from within would breed happiness and contentment and satisfaction throughout all aspects of their life without needing excess amounts of wealth to supplement it. So can you see how this tier 3 essay really breaks it down and introduces a societal issue on a really deep level, but then also acknowledges both sides and coming to a conclusive solution at the end? So the main goal you're looking in these essays is to create a clear narrative that shows that you can break down a topic, build it up, and then articulate a solution on a societal level that will actually bring about, change, or a positive change for the world. This is how I approached all of my section 2 essays, and this actually allowed me for it to be my highest ranking section each time I sat the Gamsat. So when it comes to practicing these essays, honestly, it's pretty straightforward. You write, and then you write, and then you write. Just write as many essays as you can. For me, I was only doing 1 a week, and that was enough for me. Sometimes I do 2 a week if I felt like I wasn't quite on top of it or I was really enjoying it. But yeah, I know some people do 1 a day, forever, which to me is bonkers. But you just gotta make sure that you're writing heaps of essays as much as you can. Acer have their practice quotes, which are great, and there are also online quote generators, which I also found really good for practicing. Now, sometimes they can be a little abstract and don't quite actually build into a decent topic that you can write on, but I thought that they were good to at least look at, get a general idea on the topic, and then just write out 3 main points with some examples and a solution, instead of actually writing out a full-fledged essay associated with it, mainly because I already kind of knew the ideas that I wanted to speak about, and it was just about getting the examples onto paper and linking them to certain aspects in the world. So the 2 quote generators that I know of and I used there's the phrases quote generator, and then there's the mindset quote generator. Now both of them I'll link in the description, and essentially they just give you a task A and a task B, and you just hit generate, and it generates all these quotes, and then you can read the quotes and derive a topic, and they have a little thing that shows you what the topic is if you want to know or you can't find it. So they're pretty cool. When it comes to getting feedback for your essays, I understand that critiquing things yourself can feel a little weird and not actually quite useful, but I actually found it really helpful to go over my essays with a red pen and kind of find things that were expressed really well or things that weren't expressed really well, and just kind of annotate them. So if they were good, give them a tick. If they weren't that great, I kind of close them off and say not good, and then I would rewrite it in a way that was expressed much better and actually delivered my point in a more coherent fashion. Other than this, you can always ask people online. Like I know on Reddit, there's always people looking to cross-mark essays. You can ask friends, you can ask family. If they don't have an English background, like an English teaching background, that's okay. If they do, that's great, like win. But really what you're trying to get from these people that you're showing it to isn't necessarily their analytical critiques of your English language. It's essentially just being able to give it to somebody else and for them to be able to come back and say, yes, that had a good flow of points, it made sense, it was thought-provoking and interesting. Because that's really the key points that you're trying to nail when you write your essay. Alright, so this is how I approached every essay I ever wrote. All my practice essays and all my Gamsat essays all revolved around this one key concept: philosophy. I stumbled across this idea, funnily enough, Googling ways to actually improve my essay ideas. Now, who would have thought, right? So I found this Reddit post from a while back, and I can't remember what it's called, and I can't remember where to find it, unfortunately. I also stumbled across this website called Mindset, which also have the quote generator, which I've linked down below. So essentially, through learning and understanding one core philosophical belief system, it actually allows you to incorporate these ideas into every topic that the Gamsat can throw in you on the day. So, I didn't know anything about philosophy before stumbling across this and deciding to incorporate it into my essay regime. And even now, I still don't really know that much about it. But I essentially just chose one school of thought and learnt it as best I could, and then understood all of their ideas and what they're talking about and how they relate to society as a whole, and then put them all together so that whenever I come across a topic, I can just write it out and I have knowledge to draw on from each aspect of this philosophical school, as well as each aspect of the topic that I can break down into a societal level. Now, it seems hard at first, but once you kind of get a bit of a basis of the ideas you want to talk about, you then start to build a little bit of like a bubble, I'd say, of these key buzz points and words that you actually start to tailor all of your essays around, so that when you start writing a topic, each point and each paragraph leads to you rebutting all of those points and creating that solution based around one of these key principles. So for every single one of my essays, practice and real deal on the day, I spoke about Confucius. So every single essay, I would get a topic, I would find what it was about, and I would talk about how, our motives in life should be about bettering ourselves and really spreading kindness and joy through our actions. And through these benevolent acts of kindness, the human race will be infinitely more happier, and that this should be our true goal and our true motives throughout all of our lives. And I then spoke about the golden rule and things like that as well, but really these were the key points in every single one of my essays that I wrote. This then led me to developing a bit of a strategy and a bit of a structure that I implemented into every essay I wrote, and I called it the why, who, how formula. I know. Believe it or not, I'm not actually that creative, but it worked for me, and I think that it'll also probably work for you guys too if you want to give it a crack. So paragraph 1 involved introducing a topic, breaking it down into a societal issue, and then explaining why this matters. Paragraph 2 involved touching on the perceived benefits of these actions, but then furthering on to explain the consequences that these continued actions will have on society and who this affects. And paragraph 3 involved introducing this philosophical antidote and explaining how we can fix these actions and these behaviors in order to bring about a more happier human race, essentially. And that was it. That's what I did every single time I wrote an essay. And I tell you what, my girlfriend was absolutely sick of every single time I give her an essay, getting down to that third paragraph, reading the word Confucius, and just she couldn't help but laugh. But it's what you have to do. You have to build that consistency so that when you're writing an essay on the day, it's already second nature. It's already in your head, and you just got to put it out onto paper. Although I'm pretty sure we're now typing it, and I think we might be typing it for the future. But anyway, you get my point. So there we have it. That's my comprehensive guide on how I tackled Section 2, and hey, maybe how you'll start to tackle Section 2 now. I really hope that if you were struggling with getting a clear structure and pattern of ideas for your essays, that you now have a little bit more of a clearer picture on where to go and what to do. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to check out my other videos, and if you're new here, which honestly I'm pretty sure would be anybody watching this video at this point, because I only have like 6 subscribers or something, but make sure to tap that like and subscribe button so that you know when my next videos are released, and you get to feel a little bit good because you're supporting moi. Leave a comment down below about your Section 2 structure and how you do things differently so that other people can benefit and have a look at them as well. If you've got some alterations to what I do, chuck that in the comment too, and I'll definitely give them a look. Alright, until next time guys, see ya.